Hi guys, doing this Captain Spencer Clark with Breaking Bass Guide Service down here at Table Rock Lake in Lake Taneycomo. I want to give you guys a fishing report from the past week. Down here at Table Rock Lake, the fishing is still pretty consistent, pretty good overall. Had a couple guide trips this past weekend down in the dam area, and what I was primarily doing was, targeting brush piles and standing timber, either off like points or like kind of channel swing areas where these fish tend to relate to, throughout the summer months down here. And it seemed like if I could find brush or, some kind of timber, isolated timber, anywhere from, like 28 to about 40 foot, where we had a little bit of bait around those tops of those trees, that's where we catch some, some decent fish. The thing that's been kind of happening to me lately on some of those spots right now is there's still a lot of fish out there, but I can only get maybe one or two of them to fire up and bite for each spot I'm going to. It's like you catch one or two and it kind of gets everything going for a little bit and then they just kind of die out. And what I've been having to do a lot of times is just come back, a couple hours later, hit that spot again, and we can get a couple more fish to come in the boat. When you're out there fishing these deep spots like these deep brush piles of timber, timing gets to be like really crucial. I've seen it a couple times recently where we'll go to these spots and we might not get anything the first couple hours of our trip, but as we're getting later into the day, like more midday, and the boat traffic really starts to get going, some of these offshore spots tend to get a little bit better, and the fish down there start to really bite. I don't know if it's because the sunlight, they just get tighter to the cover. They get more focused around that cover that they're down there in that deep water, and it could be that just you have a little bit more light penetration when you're fishing that deep. I can imagine that there's not as much light down there as you might think. But for whatever the case, it seems to me like some of the best fishing is around like 10 o'clock till about 1 o'clock or something in the day when it comes to that structure bite, like out deep like that. So primarily been using on Table Rock a drop shot rig. I've been doing some drop shotting with just a little quarter ounce drop shot weight, little circle hook with some kind of a finesse worm like a robo worm, a Zoom meathead. Those have been working really good in like your green pumpkin and your Aaron's Magic Colors. Those always work really well down here on spotted bass. And just really working that around the timber, around that brush, and actually using a 6-pound test. You'll notice a big difference in the amount of bites you'll get if you kind of drop your line down to about 6-pound line. That's a little tip I can give you. You go to 8 to 10, you're still going to catch a lot of fish, but you'll get a few more if you're going with a little bit lighter line, it seems like, especially in the dam area. So that's what we've been doing there. And a couple other things have been working on Table Rock for me is if I can't get them on the drop shot to go, what I've been doing is ripping a spoon just over the top of their head. Sometimes, instead of being down in the brush or down in that timber real tight, you'll actually have fish that tend to be cruising, especially like in the morning hours, the first couple hours a day. A lot of fish will be actually up and cruising, just suspended above this cover, and you can get them to bite a spoon if you drop it down there and rip it around their head. The bait that I've been catching some fish on is just like a 7/8 ounce white War Eagle spoon. I've been throwing this on 20 to even 25-pound fluorocarbon, and really fishing this violently around those areas where you have that timber. The only problem with it is occasionally you're going to get hung up, and you might lose a couple of those baits, but it's just kind of a necessary part of trying to catch those fish down there. Another bait that seems to be working really good in some of these areas besides that drop shot is just a blade bait, just taking some kind of a shad pattern blade bait. And you can either do like a yo-yo retrieve with this out off like deep points over the tops of those brush piles. And that yo-yo retrieve tends to work pretty good, but also this weekend caught a couple fish just burning it really fast into that like 20 foot 25 foot zone over like 40 foot of water, as there's fish that are actually just kind of suspended out in deep water but not really relating to anything in particular other than maybe some bait or some bluegills out there that they're feeding on. So if you're coming down the Table Rock, there's that deep bite anywhere from, like 26 to like 40 foot. It just kind of depends on the spot and what you're fishing. There's a lot of fish still out there. Talked to a couple of buddies of mine, though, that managed to make it, like up the James River, do some fishing this weekend. And they've been catching some really good ones throwing top water early in the day. So that's something that you really want to start to pick up. We're getting some rain this week. It's starting to cool down. The temperatures, just going to be like in the 90s to upper 80s this week, which is a relief because like the past month and a half, we've, had temperatures in the hundreds. And with everything cooling down and a little bit of rain expected this week, you're going to start to see some things happening as far as that fall transition. The last couple days I was out, you could definitely tell some things are changing as far as the weather goes. You could feel that, that sense of fall is just around the corner in the air. If you spend a lot of time out fishing and out and outdoors like I do, you can just kind of feel it in the air. You just notice that difference in feeling. Besides looking at the calendar, I mean, we've only got like 2 weeks until we get into September. We're going to be looking at some early fall patterns starting to develop down here at the lake. I know some guys are already catching them on that top water, and things are going to continue to get better as we move more into the fall. The trout fishing down at Taneycomo has been really good lately, catching a ton of numbers. I've primarily been fishing anywhere from like Cooper Creek axis on down to like Rockaway Beach, that whole area, and catching trout the whole way down. If we can get like an overcast day, a little bit of cloud cover, the trout really seem to be biting a lot better, even than when it's sunny. Even though they're really biting pretty much all the time. It's just that I've noticed that if we get like a cooler day with some rain or cloud cover, those seem to be the best days as far as having trout that are actively chasing your baits and really wanting to feed. I had a couple trips. Some days, the trout, they're a little bit, I guess you call it lazy, where they're not going to chase your bait as much. And, like some of the dates I've had, they've been really chasing stuff all the way back to the boat and almost hitting it at the boat, which, when you get a day like that where the trout seem to be a little bit more active like that, you're going to have a good day. I've got some availability coming up this upcoming weekend. Currently don't have anybody scheduled for this weekend, the 20th and 21st. If you're coming down here to Branson, Table Rock Lake, need to hire a fishing guide, reach out to me, just 314-562-3332. Like to get you out on the water, show you a couple things about fishing Table Rock, Lake Taneycomo, and we're going to have a really good day. Like to take you fishing. Until next time, guys, good fishing, and see you on the water.